Imagine thinking wars are funded by your taxes. That's like believing your Netflix subscription is personally responsible for Michael Bay's explosions. Cute idea, but unless your $12.99 plan secretly buys napalm, you might want to rethink that theory. Nope, the truth is way messier. Messier, in that genius evil kind of way that makes you both laugh and cry at the same time. Because here's the deal. If you really knew how governments come up with the cash to fund wars, you'd probably look at your paycheck, then at your grocery bill and say, wait, am I being played? Spoiler, yes, you are. So stick around, because the real money trail behind wars isn't just shocking. It'll make you question everything you've ever believed about government budgets, national debt, and maybe even that little patriotic feeling you get when you see fireworks on the 4th of July. Here's the mystery. Wars cost trillions, not millions, not billions, trillions. That's enough money to build, 17 Death Stars, or at least buy you a decent apartment in New York City. And yet, somehow, the money is always there. Think about that. Governments can't fix the pothole outside your house. They can't keep the DMV printer working. It's 2025 and you're still getting documents with ink smudges like it's 1994. But when it comes to missiles, drones, and surprise invasions on the other side of the world, suddenly there's no shortage of cash. So who's actually footing the bill? Who's swiping the card for these trillion-dollar shopping sprees of destruction? Because here's the twist. It's not your tax dollars. That's just the bedtime story they tell to make you feel like you contributed. The real answer, well, that's where things get fun. The great tax illusion. Let's start with the most comfortable lie, the idea that your taxes are what directly pay for wars. People love to believe this. It gives them a sense of connection. They'll say things like, my tax dollars are hard at work overseas, as if your $1,200 tax bill just bought half a grenade launcher, or maybe chipped in for the tires on a Humvee. Sorry, but no. That's not how it works. If wars were really funded by taxes, most conflicts would last about as long as a TikTok video. Wars eat through money faster than a teenager eats through snacks after school. We're talking millions, sometimes billions per day. Your little tax contribution? That might cover the cost of some military toilet paper, if you're lucky. But this illusion persists because it's neat and tidy. Politicians can stand at a podium and say, your money built this aircraft carrier. It sounds patriotic. It makes you feel like a shareholder in the world's most explosive company. But behind the curtain, the real money machine is a lot darker and way more complicated. And here's the thing. Those shadowy funding systems don't just keep wars running. They're designed to. They're built to outlast tax season, outlast election cycles, and outlast you. The magic checkbook trick. So if it's not taxes, then what is it? Welcome to the magic checkbook trick. Here's how it works. The government doesn't reach into its savings account to pay for war. It doesn't have one. Instead, it borrows. It issues bonds, which are basically fancy IOUs, to investors, banks, and sometimes even foreign governments. They're like saying, hey, lend us a few $1 trillion right now so we can drop some bombs today and we'll pay you back later. Promise, pinky swear, with interest. It's the ultimate buy now, pay never system. Because when do those debts ever really get paid off? The answer is never. They just get rolled over, refinanced, and shoved down the throats of future generations. It's like maxing out 10 credit cards, then handing the bills to your grandchildren while you grin and say, good luck, champ. And here's the wild part. Investors line up for this. They know the government will always find a way to pay them back, eventually. Wars guarantee spending. Spending guarantees bonds. Bonds guarantee returns. It's a self-feeding monster. The result? Wars don't just burn money, they make money, at least for the people holding the bonds and cashing the interest checks. For them, every missile fired is a dividend payment. Every invasion is a business opportunity. But don't get too comfortable, because this isn't even the wildest part. The magic checkbook trick is just Act 1. There's a bigger, scarier, more is this even legal move governments pull when debt starts to look shaky. A move so audacious, it makes debt look responsible. And we'll get to that in the next section. Spoiler, it involves a printing press and a very loose definition of money. All right, so let's say the borrowing game starts getting out of hand. Maybe the debt looks like a Jenga tower about to collapse. Does the government panic? Do they cut back? Of course not. They just pull out their favorite toy, the printing press. Yes, when in doubt, governments simply play Monopoly, banker, and conjure money out of thin air. Literal thin air. They don't even need paper anymore. It's just keystrokes on a computer. A trillion here, a trillion there, boom, instant cash. Now, obviously, this isn't free. Printing money on this scale creates inflation. And when I say creates, I mean it launches inflation like Elon Musk launches rockets, fast, explosive, and sometimes landing in the wrong place. But here's the kicker. Inflation isn't the government's problem. It's your problem. Eggs go from $3 to $7, your savings shrink, your rent doubles. That's just the invisible tax of war spending. They don't take the money directly from your pocket, they just make everything you buy cost more. It's genius, in a cartoon villain kind of way. But here's where things get really twisted, because even printing isn't the final form of war funding. No. When printing still isn't enough, governments and their financial buddies pull out one last move, and this one is the most profitable of them all. The profit loop. Welcome to the profit loop, the part of the show where wars stop being just conflicts and start becoming a business model. Here's how it works. The government needs weapons. Corporations build weapons. But those same corporations don't just sell the weapons. They often help fund the government so it can buy them. Yes, the same guys selling the missiles are often the ones lending the money to buy the missiles. That's like selling you pizza and then charging you interest for eating it. It's the ultimate racket. Defense contractors make billions selling planes, bombs, and tanks. Banks and investors make billions more lending money to pay for them. Everyone wins. Except, of course, the soldiers, the civilians, and you, the guy wondering why a gallon of milk costs as much as a latte these days. This is why wars start to feel endless. They become self-sustaining businesses. The longer a war drags on, the more contracts are signed, the more money flows, the more interest gets paid. In boardrooms, war isn't seen as tragedy, it's seen as a growth opportunity. And the scariest part? The profit loop means there's an incentive not to end wars quickly. Peace is bad for business, but keeping a conflict simmering, that's quarterly revenue, baby. The Aftermath tab. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but doesn't someone eventually have to pay the bill? Oh yes, someone does, and congratulations, that someone is you. See, the real cost of war shows up later. Inflation, remember? That's one tab. Debt repayments, that's another. And when the government has to bail out its own reckless spending, guess where it comes from? Yup, higher taxes. So technically, yes, your taxes do pay for war, just not in the Hollywood version where your money buys a jet fighter. Instead, you pay decades later when you're staring at a $12 carton of eggs and wondering if you should take out a loan to buy groceries. It's like going to dinner with a friend who insists, "Don't worry, I got this." And then 3 weeks later, you find out they put the meal on your credit card. Surprise! The twist. And here's the paradigm shift, the one that should make your jaw drop. Wars aren't just military events. They're financial ecosystems. They're engineered from top to bottom to funnel wealth into certain hands while draining everyone else. It's not really about victory or freedom or even politics. It's about the machine staying fed. Money flows in from debt printing and investors. Money flows out through weapons contracts and interest payments, and you're caught in the middle, footing the bill without even knowing it. So the next time you hear we're fighting for democracy, just remember, it's less saving democracy and more sponsored by Wall Street. So no, your taxes didn't buy that fighter jet. But don't worry, you'll still be paying for it every time you grocery shop, every time your rent spikes, and every time the debt clock ticks up another trillion. If you enjoy laughing while crying about how money really works, subscribe before the government figures out a way to tax sarcasm. Cause trust me, they're already brainstorming.